Welcome back, Superfans, to another exciting episode of the Secret Society of Superfans. I'm your host, Sarah, and today we are diving into the dirt, quite literally. So today we're chatting about season 47, episode 10, Loyal to the Soil, and it's going to be a blast. Joining me today are my fabulous co-hosts, Sammy and Reality Allie. So let's get into it. What was your favorite moment, Sammy?
This week or like in general?
Of this week. Because it's too many to count for the whole general.
Exactly. Well, this week is easy, and that is the fact that Rachel got free rice and possibly had the most successful shot in the dark possible to have with this cast.
Yeah, no, she made out real good. Real good.
Yeah. And she also secured the fact that nobody thinks she has an idol. So she really won with all of this.
That's right, because she used her shot in the dark last week. So and she retains her idol. She still has it. So yeah, no, she's winning.
Yeah.
Your draft loves them.
The best part. I know. My draft is happy about it.
Well, I heard you had some questions for us, so we'll kick off. I'm going to kick it over to you. Then we'll dive into the gritty and what happened this week.
Perfect. And I just want to state that these questions are because I'm a Survivor beginner and I've only watched things like Big Brother that are a lot longer, and I'm seeing a lot more social game happening. So I have a few questions here. Alliances in Survivor 1, do they name their alliances? Because I haven't seen a single person name their alliance this season.
They have in the past, but it's not common.
It's not like in Big Brother, they're sitting around a house literally bored all day long. And so it's just kind of become a game at that point. I feel like in Survivor, it does happen. We had, of course, Kevin and the Andy Griffith Alliance.
Yeah.
They kind of named that one. That was the most recent memory of one I have. But yeah, there's an occasional name.
Yeah, and like she said, on Survivor, they're just tired and trying to survive. No pun intended.
Yeah, that's a good
care about names. And I also feel like the alliances aren't quite as loyal on Survivor as we sometimes Big Brother.
It's this is an alliance for this week.
Is that your next question?
That was literally the next question was, are alliances long lasting in Survivor, or are they done by a weekly basis?
Okay, so here's the thing about Survivor versus Big Brother. Survivor, it used to be filmed a little bit longer, but it's now filmed 28, 30 days at the most.
Yeah.
And so you got to think, if they're going into those tribals, they maybe have maybe 2 hours, 3 at the most, probably to chit chat and decide things. And then it's like going into tribal. And when they go into tribal, production does not allow them to speak until they sit down. So like they'll be standing next to each other, but they are not permitted to speak. So you got to think things so quickly that it's hard to keep true to your alliances when things are so rapidly changing.
It's also hard to keep track as like a viewer. Because like sometimes they're going to be talking and I'm like, dude, are you guys even working together? Like, have you ever spoken? And like, I get so confused by it.
I agree. I feel like you have like dynamics every year. Like you'll have duos that they're not like a formal alliance or anything, but they definitely have each other's back. Sue has this like weird obsession with Gabe. And we saw Sammy and Sam and Sierra were really tight and working together. Kyle and Tiana were really tight and close. And even Kyle and Gabe now have gotten really close. Like these just duos. And you just kind of know and kind of learn the dynamics, but they're never really like formal alliances.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it feels very informal because every time I see key players talking in a scene, I'm like, okay, here you guys go. Like, secure it, get it locked in, and then you win the game, right? And then I'm like, I don't think that's how this works.
I mean, it's an interesting point too, because like this is another reason why I want them to go back to 2 tribes. Instead of 3, because I feel like 3, you're making smaller groups and it is more of an alliance dynamic. And I feel like the emphasis too much post-merge is
Tuku going together.
It's
Lava.
like Tuku, yeah, like the lava. The tribes are where if you have two, there's more people, and I feel like they're probably less likely to be like Tuku strong, when in a split group of two tribes in the beginning versus three where they're smaller.
And I do agree that it's hard to follow, but I think that the new era, well, not necessarily just the new era, but now that we're having 90-minute episodes, I think that we are getting I think it has helped being able to follow it a little bit more because we get a little bit more of that stuff that we edit, and because we have more time after the challenges for them to throw edits in there for us.
Well, I kind of like that it's unpredictable in that sense. Like, I like that it's actually not cut and dry, but it is something to get used to, as I had to switch from my Big Brother brain to like Survivor brain. And I think that's where I get lost in translation.
Yeah.
I struggled with that a lot. So.
Oh, yeah, like switching that mentality. I had to do that with the traders as well.
Oh, yeah.
Not as much, but a little bit.
I feel like the traders have a lot more in common with Big Brother to me. So.
Yes, agreed. Okay, so we don't have to spend a whole lot of time talking about the actual scene I'm referring to in this. We can do that when we're like covering everything. Shot in the darks, are they even useful? Because I mean, they discarded them like they were trashed. So
I don't like them.
I think I've only seen it pay off once. I don't even remember who it was, but the times that I've seen it used, and even like I think I've only seen safe a couple times, and in those cases they didn't need it. They were not the target. They just thought they were.
Okay, so
I think that I think it's kind of silly. I know that there's mixed reviews amongst the Survivor community. Some people like and some people don't. I don't see the benefit of everybody having a chance to be safe at least once. Because
it's supposed to be your Hail Mary. It's supposed to be like your back's up against the wall. You don't have an idol. You know you're going home. Everyone's out to get you. And then, but I do like the argument I have for the shot in the dark is honestly like what it does to the pre-tribal strategy in not being, because we have to be realistic in that if you have a whole tribe that's going to vote the same way, why would you not just tell the person they're going home? And that would lead for a very boring tribal and not a lot of confessionals. A lot of people might.
I see.
And so by putting that layer on there, I feel like it encourages the players to be more deceitful about their votes and make the target more comfortable. And so for that reason, I do like the shot in the dark. Because if they didn't have that, if this person doesn't have an idol, they don't have a shot in the dark, why would you just not tell them, hey, it's you tonight, I'm sorry, and then like maybe try to do the Big Brother thing of like your jury management pre-tribal,
That's the argument I typically see, is that it promotes blindsides. But I think back to your previous point, if we would just have two tribes, I think that we wouldn't need a shot in the dark in the first place. But yeah, that's my opinion. And I still, even with three tribes, I still don't think we need one. To me, it's like everyone should, I don't know. It's like everyone has the same shot to go find immunity idols. So to me, I feel like that is a little bit more fun than, and maybe make them like the old school immunity idols where it was a lot easier to keep them a secret. I feel like the way that they do them now, it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder. Unless you just got the balls to cut open a tarp in front of everybody.
Yeah, Rachel.
But
So there's not one out there. There was no chance of anyone finding one today, right? Because Rachel has it.
Correct. And Sue has one still too.
Yes. I wanted to bring that up because they have not reminded us about that in a long time.
I think it's going to be like an epic moment.
Which makes me concerned that there's going to be a big moment with it. Yeah.
Yep. And I think also too, and again, we don't have to focus on this right now, but I think they're emphasizing her hatred of Kyle so much and then not emphasizing her idol that a part of me thinks that pivotal moment is going to be a her and Kyle like battle off, right? Like where half the people are going to be voting for Kyle, half are going to be voting for her. And then she's going to be like, oh, suckers, I have my idol.
idol.
And then Kyle goes.
Yeah.
Or she doesn't play it and then she ends up going.
Something weird.
Let's go ahead and talk about the Sue of it all, because since you brought it up, last week and the week before, I said I've been saying like I really wanted to like Sue, I really did, but she just isn't giving me anything to work with here. And although like pulling that Kyle's my winner pick out of this, and I like every week, every single episode, I just fall more and more in love with Kyle. But pulling all that out of it, just trying gameplay. I said last week, her like vendetta against him for their first tribal council, where he wrote her name and hasn't done shit to her since, hasn't done anything to slight her since, has voted with her, has not voted to get any of her people out. Like it is wild to me that she cannot let that go. And I don't know where that's coming from. I don't know if there's something we're not seeing. But in this episode, the editors were like, yeah, we see it, and then they give us this montage. And now I feel a lot less crazy because I was like, why is nobody talking about how weird this is of her?
Yeah.
Yes. Agreed. It is weird and kind of a disappointment. And honestly, it's kind of boring now.
And I think that goes back to what Sammy was just saying. It's like they saved they didn't throw us breadcrumbs along the way. They have saved it to start building up this moment to where I'm concerned that potentially Kyle's going out at the hands, even if it has nothing to do with her having an idol, Kyle could be going out at the hands of Sue in the next week.
Or vice versa.
I see it vice versa because I feel like Kyle is getting this like winner-esque kind of edit in these moments with Jeff, where Sue is kind of getting this like look at Sue's demise story. And they're kind of laying down the narrative and the foundation to like Sue's spiral is going to be her downfall, which by the way, I predicted 3 weeks ago. It's on the episode. Go look it up. But like on week 3, I was like, Kyle in this, like, and whether it's Kyle or anybody else, Sue in this like weird tunnel vision she gets is going to be her demise. And I feel like they're laying the groundwork for that storyline.
I agree.
And let's be honest.
I could see it going both ways, honestly, because she does have that idol. I do believe she will play it if the moment arises. I don't foresee her going to jury with an idol in her pocket. You know what I mean?
And let's not forget the clip that never really went anywhere, so they might resurface it. Of who was it? Was it Caroline? Who was it that like clocked Sue having an idol with the paint and was like Caroline. She's like, she didn't tell me. Like, so I feel like that might be like a previously on, and then like pulling that clip up too of Caroline being wary of Sue because she suspected her having an idol she hadn't told her.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, Kyle's not going home next week because he's just going to win another immunity challenge.
Yeah, I do think
That's
he's
my
going to break
boy.
the record. It doesn't even seem to be coming close to people.
Kyle's likely going. I mean, I think he's going to finale. So I don't think he's winning. I think that the edit he's getting is very, hey, look at me. I'm great. I'm going to the finale, but I'm not winning.
Another thing that was said in this episode that I feel like, again, did they listen to our last week's episode? Was Gabe talking about why he has continued to work with Kyle. And he confirmed our suspicions as to why Kyle has gotten as far as he has. And it's because with Kyle, you know where you stand. Mm-hmm. You know how he's voting, and he's going to be transparent. And we predicted that was like, why would he keep keeping him? That's been our theory. Gabe then confirmed it for us this episode. So I feel like that's it's interesting to look at from a strategy, because like a lot of people I feel go into Survivor like, I either want to lay low and be in the shadows, or I want to be sneaky snakes and be the ocean, not the boat, or the, they have these plans. Yeah, like to be these masterminds and make all these final twos. But I don't know that we've seen a lot of people. I don't know if this is Kyle's strategy or if it's just who he is and it's working out for him. But the strategy of just being so fucking honest that you're not like you could win 4, 5 immunity challenges or however many and not be a threat, because they're like, well, I never have to worry about him voting against me. Like, I'm always going to know.
Magic trick.
Voila.
Sammy has a quick voila. Now Sammy's back in his studio.
How did
you do that?
That's wild.
Everybody's so creative.
Everybody's so creative. We should enter in one of those like little graphics, like when they do in BB, where they beam them into the competitions.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so I want to talk about the start of the episode because the episode starts off with the fallout from the Saul blindside and how everyone knows Genevieve was the mastermind here. I don't know if it was this episode or last one, but she said like the tallest blade of grass gets cut first, and she grew a few inches. And I think that's really interesting that she's come out of the shadows and has been being seen as a shot caller. But Teenie was like her partner in crime, and Teenie was her partner at this, and this was a blindside against Teenie again. And Teenie let her know she was not quiet. She came back from tribal. We see Teenie like come in hot and heavy, saying like this, like y'all laid it out. You made me look like, you tried to make me look like a fool again. Teenie clocked it at tribal and was able to vote with the tribe, but at the end of the day, like she was still left out of the vote. And Genevieve tried to explain to her that Saul was like, what'd she say, like a bad date that she couldn't get rid of, or she kept just trying to drag along. I didn't get that. I didn't understand that. I felt like it was a bullshit reason, and I feel like Teenie felt the same way. But I feel like Teenie's, first of all, when she cries, her eyes look like anime eyes, and they break my heart. I felt really bad for Teenie in this moment. I feel like she handled it very well. I feel like a lot of people feel like being non-confrontational in these moments is an advantage, but I also feel that if you play to your partners, your people that you've been working with, like emotional side, you kind of, if you come off angry or pissy or even stoic and don't care, that can be more threatening than someone saying like, you just really hurt my feelings. So I feel like this actually helped her and helped Teenie in her standing with Genevieve and with the rest of the tribe. I didn't know how you guys felt about all of this, or would you have confronted Genevieve about it, or? Hello.
Yes.
Allie's tired, guys.
I'm not mad. Yeah, I am. I am not. I went and saw Wicked last night, so.
So did I. Yeah,
and then we had to be up for soccer games this morning. So
we should have all just worn our Wicked gear for this episode.
Should have. I have my popcorn bucket in there. I'll have to go get it. Okay, so here's the thing. Here's my thoughts. Genevieve was very clear with Teenie, and I'm not mad at Genevieve making a move that she felt was good for her, but respectfully, it was the wrong move.
It was.
Respectfully, that wasn't the best move. And I mean, I know we see more because we're getting the post edit, but I just feel like if Teenie wanted to be that, if Genevieve was going to be true to a relationship with Teenie, she should have just stood on business and talking to Teenie. And that is not what she did. What she did was made some bullshit excuse and was like, this actually is why I feel bad about this move because, I really care about you and you're making me feel bad now because you're crying and you're now making me feel bad about making a move that was good for me. And that pissed me off.
Make me feel better about making you feel bad.
Teenie was having no part of that. Teenie stood their ground and was very, very, in my opinion, respectful about the situation, but genuinely upset and rightfully so. And I respect, like I said, if you thought that was a good move for you, fine. It was the wrong move. But like, stand by it and don't try to put it back onto Teenie for now making you feel bad because actually Teenie's not the one that initiated that conversation. Actually, Teenie was sitting there and just like, fumbling with her shit. And then Genevieve came up and was like, are we going to talk about this? Are we going to talk about this? And Teenie was like, I'm just a little shook right now. Like, but yeah, we can. And so, yes, Teenie stood her ground. So that's where I'm like, you wanted to talk to her. You knew how that was probably going to go. And your response was, you're making me feel bad about making a move. Yeah. That's what should have made that rubbed me wrong. And that's upsetting because I was starting to kind of like Genevieve. And now I'm just like, ugh. It gave me the ick. I didn't like it.
It's very triggering, if especially like we have a lot of I'm sure everyone's got people in their lives, but everyone has that person. Everyone has that person who you feel like you can't tell them or communicate with them when they've done something to upset you, because then they make it a bigger thing, you know.
Yeah.
Which I think was a wonderful time. I'm glad that production waited until this episode to give Teeny her Be Real, because I just feel like this was a wonderful opportunity. It just segued so well into why Teeny feels so misplaced, because here's one person making me feel bad for being myself and making me feel bad for making moves that are for wanting to do something that's good for me and my group. And here you're wanting to do, I don't know. It was a great segue, and I really applaud production for that.
I agree.
It was very moving and touching. And I feel like we didn't deserve, like we were not entitled, or we necessarily as the audience don't deserve that level of vulnerability from Teeny. And so I feel like privileged to have, that Teeny shared that with us. And that do we know Teeny, like that to me felt like are Teeny's pronouns they, them?
I wanted to talk about this because this is where I'm confused on if Teeny is.
I looked on social media, like their social media too, and I didn't, like, there's no.
That's what I'm saying. I haven't figured out if Teeny is still within their self figuring out their pronouns, or if production just kind of like didn't address
just trying to gloss it over.
At first I was like, are they really not gonna like, because she was like, I'm not sure how I fit in this, binary world. But then I thought that they were going to say, I kind of identify in the middle of these, and my pronouns are, but they didn't. And if they are using they them pronouns or anything other than what a cis pronoun would be, I do say shame on CBS for not in the first episode addressing that, because they should know that people are going to be podcasting and doing videos and clips, and we do not want to intentionally misgender someone. Now, I agree.
Which has happened in the past. Teeny is out though on social media.
I didn't put it on social media either. So
right. So I'm saying that I don't think Teeny's really identified that at all. But that segment did lead me to believe.
Yeah.
But then I'm thinking back to their intro where they were talking about going to an all-girls school and conforming to that when they were there, and then all guy friends and so I don't know. And that is a personal journey. So if Teeny is still on that journey, we're not. I just want to make sure that from what we are doing our research, from what we can see, there are no like established pronouns yet. So
yeah, I also looked this up today when I was rewatching the episode for that reason. And again, I saw nothing confirmed, and a lot of like tagged posts are still referring like she, her. So that's what I'm going with until otherwise specified, what they use on the show. And then otherwise, easy correction corner later, if that ends up being the case.
But yes, loved the segment. I loved that Be Real. I loved that they gave Teeny her moment. So I got all the clamped early on. Well, next we got to the weirdest challenge I think I've ever seen on Survivor. And it gave me all the sensory icks you could possibly imagine. Where they had to basically bound themselves into snake form to push above. This was a reward challenge, and they were randomly put into teams of 3, and they had to push a ball with their head over sand dunes and stuff. I hated every part of watching this. And then when Andy, there's a moment, my mouth is getting weird.
I can't even think about it.
When Andy opens his mouth and the sand is all in his, I can't. I despise the beach and I hate sand.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
So this was really, really hard to watch. So all of that to say that the reward was won by Sam, Rachel, and Kyle. And they got to go eat veggies and salads and wraps. So it was right up Kyle's alley. Can you imagine if the reward was like a steak dinner or barbecue or something? But no, we got all poor Kyle. They got veggie delight. And so they're at the thing, and this is when Kyle brings up, hey, I think I need to turn on Gabe. I know that the show's edited. I know that we don't see everything, but I feel like Rachel was way too quiet during this conversation.
I fully agree. This was another one of those moments that was like, you three would be a dream team. You're all three of you are kind of outsiders in the sense that, you know, everyone eventually is going to want Kyle out. Rachel is always on the other side of the boat, and
Yeah.
Sam, his best friend, just went home. So it was like, why aren't like Rachel, like, get excited, like this
Come
could be a big
together.
outlet. Like
Yes.
those two are the perfect people for her to hide behind for a couple of weeks. And I don't feel like she took advantage of that at all.
No. Okay. Well, I'm glad someone else noticed them. So I'm glad someone else saw it. Also, just from somebody who, from a Kyle or Sam perspective too, that's a lot of talking in front of somebody who's being very quiet and not agreeing with you explicitly. Kyle, that checks out for character-wise. I feel like it was really risky on Sam's part. Kyle's just like, I'm going to like, fuck this guy, blah, blah, blah. You know, he didn't say that, but I'm saying like, he can say whatever. He doesn't care. He doesn't care who's around because that's just who Kyle is. And Sam, on the other hand, Sam's in a more vulnerable state. And he was just real, like, Rachel would have given me, like, spooked me out enough where I would have thought like, oh gosh, she working with Gabe.
And part of Sam's reasoning, if I remember, he was specifically saying he wasn't ready to target the two crew members, right? Like he was kind of in the same boat as Andy of like, no, I think we should all kind of like stick together. And honestly, if they would have done it, that probably would have been the best move for the four. They could have all went to Final Four. I mean, truly, they would have had the votes to probably do that. But I think that was part of his reasoning for, I think that he said.
I don't think that they would have ever had those votes though, because Sue's there.
The votes for what exactly?
For Tuku to be Tuku strong.
Well, I see. If Kyle continues to win immunity,
this is true. True. Then it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Because who do we have? We have Kyle, Gabe, Sue, and Caroline. So if one of them, if you know, as long as it's not Sue, if it's Gabe or Kyle or Caroline wins immunity, I mean, I think it really doesn't matter how Sue votes. And honestly, Sue's not going to, I don't know. I think they could convince Sue to want to make it to that a little further. But also,
I don't think they could convince Sue to keep Kyle over other people that she's working with. But I also think that they should have gotten rid of Sue last week. I think that they hit the nail on the head when they were talking about Soul versus Sue.
Yeah.
And
she would have gone to jury with the idol. It would have been so good for them.
We talked about this.
But even if they don't, since they don't know about this, yeah, we talked about it last week. Even if they don't know about the idol, they hit the nail on the head last week. Is that everyone likes Sue and everyone works with Sue and everyone's keeping Sue.
And of the females, I said this last week. There are strong men that need to go. Kyle, Andy, obviously Gabe just went. Like those people need to go. Sam. Before they worry about Sue. In my personal, as far as the girls, if you are Caroline, if you are Rachel, you need to be looking at targeting those guys first. You just do because you're falling on every competition first. But keep in mind, Sue is the last woman standing. So once those guys are gone,
I was just going to say that
really need to look at Sue.
Yeah, but I wrote in my notes actually, like, when are people going to realize that Sue is like a physical threat? Because like I know a lot of these men are like working overtime here, but Sue is a physical threat. And
can you give us a Sue impression?
Me?
Your video was so good. Crack me up.
Thank you. It took me a full day to get the makeup off.
Yeah, I was going to say, we have to tell the people about that.
But I honestly think, I think Sue should have been the call last week for sure. I still don't really understand why they went Saul.
I think
I'm talking about last week.
Last week
between Saul and Sue. Gabe absolutely was a good move this week.
And honestly, Andy, probably a good move this coming week. Andy or Sam?
Okay, so here's the thing. I disagree. I think Andy is about to see his end soon.
You do?
Yeah.
No, I'm saying.
I agree.
That's what I'm saying. Andy or Sam should be the target this coming week.
Oh, I
yeah.
thought you meant they're like gonna.
I think I think this episode laid the groundwork to Andy, because now, like, we have the Sue's obsessed with Kyle segment, but we also had the Andy being Tyler Christian all of a sudden and making final twos
with
all over the fucking beach.
Yeah,
every single person.
I know there are people out there that believe that Andy is getting a winner's edit, and I recognize that, but I disagree. I really think that Andy is paving the way for either Andy or Sam coming forward. I think Sue, like we talked about, there's some sus stuff going around with Sue. And Sue could be a wild card. But I don't know. I'm thinking Andy, Sam, and Sue are probably who we might see the next coming week. So
I know. I do still think that Genevieve's in trouble unless she can, convince.
Who's targeting Genevieve, though, other than Teeny?
Well, the fact that they're even showing
that was the thing, is that it all came.
Yeah, Rachel.
Yeah, it was between Gabe and Genevieve.
That's true.
And prior to that, yeah,
I just didn't know that they were still worried about her. You know what I mean? Like, I just
think
felt
it's gonna keep carrying. Due to the edit, I think it's gonna keep carrying because this last episode they're showing how everyone is starting to have like personal.
What a waste of a vote out, though. Like, to me, if they get out Genevieve, what a waste. She's not winning immunity challenges. She doesn't have.
I know. I fully agree. That's why I was confused why Rachel was like,
I think it's because
Genevieve first.
Genevieve proved herself to be shiesty. I mean, she ring-led a lot of that Saul conversation. So.
Yeah, but the only reason she was able to do it, wasn't because she's such a good social player. It was that the majority of Tuku just wanted a different target that was not Tuku.
But Genevieve took the heat because Genevieve was doing this.
Yeah, she didn't do this right. It was.
This is why I can't play game shows. This is why I can't play on these shows, because I don't keep my mouth shut. So I will, even if I don't need to, I will look guilty all the time.
I think Genevieve made herself a threat when, after the Saul vote, everyone realized, whoa, she really got us to all do that.
Precisely.
And now pretty easily.
Teeny is going to be throwing those seeds out there for everyone, because Teeny, prime enemy number one is Genevieve for Teeny at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I can see Genevieve being in trouble this upcoming week, but I think you're on to something, though. I think Andy and Sam are also not sitting, I think, as pretty as they think they are.
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically what we got when the reward challenge people came back, and that it was all just, is it going to be Genevieve? It's going to be Gabe. It's going to be Genevieve. It's going to be Gabe. But then we went to the immunity challenge, and Jeff started a rice negotiation. We didn't get a dramatic knife to the bag this time. But Jeff wanted to start it off with a rice negotiation, and people weren't really having it. Me personally, it is less than a 30-day season, and you're already how many days in?
Like 18 days in, I think.
How important is that?
So you're over halfway there. I say that, but then I'll murder someone for some mac and cheese if I go too long without it.
Like unseasoned rice. Ugh.
Yeah, but if all I'm eating is coconut and drinking coconut water,
I get it. But like you said,
get hangry, Allie. I get violent.
Your stomach don't even remember what it's like to have food at that point. Okay, so here's what I wrote down. Gabe is an idiot. Why did he say, what about 3 people? Like, no, Jeff told you we're starting out at 4 people. And the Gabe's like, what would you do for 3? Because you know why he said that? Because he looked around and he knew that there was only 3 people that would be willing to do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Like, to me, it was just so silly to even ask after Jeff specifically said we were starting at 4. The other thing I wrote down was about Caroline. And she was like, what if 2 people give up their shot in the dark, which really set the tone for that shot in the dark question. Jeff's like, nah. And then Kyle said,
what about everybody?
What about everybody? And Jeff's like, Now, we talked about this a little bit before. I do disagree that that was that big of a move, because to me, if everyone is giving it up, what's the difference in everyone having it versus everyone not having it?
Exactly.
And obviously Rachel didn't have one.
I get Sam's perspective. Sam was the reluctant one. Sam didn't want to because he felt like he's in the bottom. That's your last Hail Mary. That's if I can't get an idol, like I'm going out. There's nothing I can do. At least I have this. So I get it. I get it from that perspective. Me personally, it's hard to say from, armchair. It's hard to say watching the show unless you're in there, but watching and knowing what I know, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. Like I still get to compete for immunity, and I get rice, and I'm giving up something that only has a 1 in 6 chance of actually meaning anything.
And I get Sam's perspective in like not wanting to be the one person holding everyone up, because all that's going to happen is you're fucking going home now. Like,
right, and then you have to use yours.
Or
and then
are you serious? We didn't get rice because of you?
Speaking of fucking rice, did we have to watch everybody in such grotesque detail eat the rice with it sticking all over their face like little fucking maggots?
Survivor loves to do that.
That's so gross. The feet, now the rice.
Second to feet, and now second to people's tongues on balls. My least favorite thing to see on Survivor is absolutely them eating shit off of leaves. I don't want to see you eat anything off of a dirty leaf. And I know you probably washed it in some boiled water or something, but like, can you clean your hand and just like, I don't know. I don't get the.
Wait, what did you say though? You said least favorite thing after feet and what?
People's tongue on balls.
Got it. All right. Just wanted it for an audio clip.
Just wanted to clarify. Yeah.
Tongue and teeth, baby. He was like,
them giving up all of their shot of the darks, I think was less exciting than how they interacted with each other during that scene. Because I think one of the things that really nailed Gabe is how he took on that leadership position during that conversation, and the way he was talking to Sam was like almost like he was telling them his exact strategy in the game. He was like, your vote is more important than the shot in the dark, which he had been saying all episode. He was using people for their votes. And I feel like they do a panning of everyone when he says that. And half the people are like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And the other half are like, you're coming off kind of like a leader right now, like someone who's running the Tuku tribe. You know what I mean?
So
Allie's recording from a billiard room.
The dog has dropped their bone, and they can't seem to use their tongue well enough to pick it up like we did on balls on Survivor.
That Sarah, that was actually
when you have hardwood floors and dogs with bones, it's always something. Can we segue though? Because is this where we segue back to me talking about how Jeff talks
tongues on balls? Yeah, go ahead, babe.
Yeah. Can we segue back to Jeff talking too much? Because I think this is a great segue to Sammy's comment, because here's the thing. Why is Jeff saying anything at all other than, yes, I'm willing to do it, or no? He's literally like, oh, this is a massive sacrifice.
Because it's Jeff, and he loves nothing more.
In the dark. Like, Jeff, they know. They know. They don't need reminding. They don't.
Because Jeff is here for the drama, and he loves the drama, and he loves the sound of his own voice.
If they just want to let that play out, okay? And then afterwards, let's have a little diary room with Jeff and him being like, this was their one shot in the dark. Him doing like a little one-on-one interview. They can cut that in little parts so us as the viewers see what we want. Anyways, I just think that's too much. I think he should stop doing that. We talked about this last week. I don't want to beat a dead horse.
Jeff is not the host. He sees himself as a cast member every season.
Yeah.
And I love Jeff. He is a very valuable, integral part of Survivor. But and then I think I was telling you guys beforehand, I went back and watched some old tribal councils, and Jeff wasn't always like this. And I can't decide if it was that they just didn't edit it that way, or if they allowed or if Jeff just wasn't saying it, right? Because like they could really have edited all that out. But like specifically, if you go back to watch Eric, the famous Eric scene where, you know, Suri and them convince him to give up his immunity idol necklace. I mean, that is a epic moment, and Jeff is saying nothing. He literally asks, do you want to keep it or do you want to give it away? And he's like, I think I want to give it to so-and-so. And Jeff's like, okay, let's go vote now. Like, if that was...
Yeah, he wasn't like, what a crazy move to make in the game. What would possess you to do that? Was it all the side?
I don't know if you've seen this, but I highly recommend it if you haven't. Recently, I partook in the documentary series, The Dark Side of Reality Television. They have an episode that covers Survivor Season 1. And there was a lot of similar interference and fuckery and, you know, production throwing protein bars at people's feet and stuff like that. So I just think that that's kind of always been how it is, and they can't really get away with the food part anymore, but they can get away with Jeff influencing it tribal.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
Watch, but if you haven't seen it, it is available on Amazon. If you don't, the whole season I think is $15, but if you want to just do episodes, I think they're like $2.99 to buy it, not even to rent it. You just own the episode. I bought a few episodes. I got Joe Millionaire, Survivor Season 1, and Extreme Home Makeover Home Edition.
Nice.
Highly recommend.
Extreme Home Makeover.
Oh my God, it's so
other Extreme Makeover. Where they would
they did the Swan too.
Yeah, the Swan.
No, it's bad. It's really bad. Like, anyway, but the fuckery. But anyway, for the Survivor episode 1, Richard is on it. Kelly Wigglesworth, who we were just talking to, she's on it. Basically, they had a bunch of the cast members from season 1 on, as well as the production team from that time. Oh man, that's a lot. You know what? We should do like a mini episode, just kind of covering until it.
Oh yeah,
I highly recommend go watch it.
Yeah,
that would be cool. And I bet we could. Well, we couldn't get Kelly on because Kelly said she's never watched Survivor. Kelly Wigglesworth, runner-up for season 1. She said, "I lived it. I lived it. Got the T-shirt. Got stick. Don't need to go back."
And how does she do the clips that she does?
That's Kelly Wentworth.
Oh, duh. We talked about this last time, how we keep getting it all mixed up. You're right.
Yeah.
It's the first season of Survivor. Yes.
So, Kyle, let's talk about this immunity challenge because it was the balancing the balls on the thing or whatever.
Man, Teeny always makes me think that they've got it. And then it's like, they're doing great. But these balancing things, they just seem to, like, the last second.
That's why.
But the fact that it came down to Sue and Kyle.
Oh, I know.
The epic Sue Kyle battle.
Yeah.
The last time Kyle won over her, she hugged him and congratulated him. She rolled her eyes this time and was the only person to not congratulate or say shit to him. But it's not the first time it's come down to the two of them. I think Sue doesn't like that he wins a lot, but because he put her name on parchment paper season 1, that's her reason.
Right.
Or not episode, like their first travel.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, but ultimately Kyle did win, and that makes Kyle in a group of people that have won 4 immunity challenges. If he wins again, which he very likely will, because he has 2 more opportunities. I'm not quite sure. This is where I'm unclear, is if part 1 of the finale is going to include, like, I'm not sure because they've never done it this way, right? Like normally we would
the way they're breaking up. So for people that don't know, that they did just recently announce that the finale will be broken up into 2 parts, 2 2-hour episodes over the span of 2 weeks.
So it'll be 4 little hours of finale as opposed to 3. However, that makes me wonder, is the first little bit of that finishing up? Anyways, I don't know. All I'm saying is he has at least 2 more shots to win more immunity challenges, potentially 3, depending on how this is going to pan out. And I think he very well could win another one. So if he does that, that would leave him in a very elite group of people who have won 5 immunity idols. If he Hail Marys this shit and wins the next 2 weeks in a row, he would be the first and only person to have 6.
That's wild. And I really think he can do it. He doesn't seem to be slowing down at all.
No.
And just like,
especially with gaining all that rice too. Like that is going to be helpful for those who are doing really well at these comps.
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
That's a great point too. Yeah, they just got like a little boost.
Yeah.
And he's also, I believe, was season 40 part of the new era or not? Before him, it hasn't happened since season. Somebody has not won 4 since season 40. So if 40 was not
new era,
it was okay. So he's only the second person in the new era to do this.
Damn.
So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
I do wish he had a better social game, and maybe he does, and I'm just misreading it. I feel like at least up until Gabe leaving, he's really just played the part of a vote. You know, like I haven't seen him really take any like assertive action. Because even when he brought up Gabe to Rachel and Sam, he still tried to peddle later and be like almost like apathetic about the vote. Like, I don't really care. I don't know who's going. You know what I mean? Like,
because I don't think he does.
That's what I mean.
I don't think he cares.
Like, I just don't think he like, yeah. And I just wish I could see more of him like actually like navigating this.
I think that Kyle's playing in a very interesting way, and I know I talked about this earlier in the episode, but another thing about Kyle that I find fascinating is that he's not playing Survivor through the lens of it's me versus them. He's playing Survivor through the lens of it's just me trying to survive. I need to win this. I need to eat. I need to win this one. I need to get forward. It's not, I need this person out so I can win. I need this person to turn on this person so that I can further. It's just like he was just placed on an island and told just to outlast, outwit, but like he was just placed on an island and they're like, we'll see you in 30 days. And I don't know that I can remember another person playing that way. So when it comes to vote, like the votes are just what the votes are. I think that if he doesn't have immunity, he plays for more of a defensive position where he's just like, this is why I feel like we should stick around, because he is trying to save himself. But whenever he has immunity, he's like, y'all just fucking tell me who to vote for, like,
exactly.
And it's fascinating.
Yeah.
My hot take on this is that Kyle is BB26's Cam if Cam could have won competitions.
I disagree on multiple levels.
He has social game, but he has no pull in the social game.
Yeah, but the major glaring difference, well, there's a lot of them actually, but a big difference that I see game weight.
Cam didn't win shit. He won like 1 comp the whole season. So I'm not saying they're the same, but if Cam was winning competitions, I think that his game would be the same as Kyle's. I still don't think Cam would have a say in what's happening other than just being an HOH.
Cam didn't have pull, but he still attempted to strategize and attempted to pull strings and to play those things. And so
I disagree. I do not feel like Cam was doing any of that. I think that
he thought he was. He thought he was doing shit, but I don't know.
Yeah,
that's
but
what I'm saying.
Yeah,
he didn't have any sway or pull or anything, but he was still attempting to have influential conversations and to steer votes certain ways. Whereas Kyle, I think Kyle's just trying to like live on an island.
Yeah.
Cam was just kind of expressing his opinions in the same way I think Kyle expresses his opinions. He's very honest. Cam was pretty honest in the house. He really was. And that's why I say I think that that game is very similar.
When you first said Cam, that's not the Cam I thought you were talking about. We were about to have fights.
Same.
I know who you thought.
That's the same. Yeah, same.
He who shall not be named.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's Cody.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, I'm gonna have to think on that some more. But I adore Kyle. I mean, Cam is such a sweetheart. Too. This is not like, and I'm not saying anything to discredit Kyle's game because I don't think that we see people in the Big Brother house just existing, just vibing, just playing on vibes. And that's completely different, I feel like, because of the long game that Survivor is. You don't have those excuses, but like to watch Kyle, he fights for his individual immunity. He gives his opinion when asked. He is very honest. He's not doing strategy as well, but I do feel like there's value in that style game in the Survivor format. Whereas in Big Brother, it's kind of a lazy version or lazy game to watch. So that's interesting.
What if what if Survivor operated similar to Big Brother's HOHs, where let's say you cannot win 2 immunity challenges in a row?
I brought this up before.
I think that would change the dynamic to where a comp beast wouldn't even be possible anymore.
Right. No, not at all. I brought that up before. Abigail and I talked.
I don't see anything wrong with winning 2 luxury challenges in a row, but like individual immunities, I would say cut it off. You win it once.
The argument there is Big Brother does have veto. And it's not like there's a veto hiding in the forest, and if somebody has it, there's no extra ones out there. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's not the same, like it's not equitable in that way, but also Survivor is, as you said at the top of the episode, so fast paced that that would really be an unfair twist, because things can change in the drop of a hat. So those individual immunities sometimes are what you have to get to carry yourself to the end. It's not like in Big Brother where the true strategy and the gameplay comes into building up these long relationships and building these layers to these relationships, so that when you don't win HOH immunity, the people that you've built these relationships with can carry the load. Survivor, we don't have the time for that. So I feel like taking away back-to-back immunity wins, it would be problematic in that way. It would be almost a crapshoot of who made it to the end.
Right. And Survivor, you're right, because Survivor doesn't have like luck-based twists. You know what I mean? Like Big Brother often has luck-based twists and luck-based competitions, but Survivor doesn't. It's about outwit, outlast,
play.
To think about.
So let's talk into we have a few minutes left. I want to talk about this very, very rainy tribal. And how everyone, I'm not going to make that dirty joke, but Saul was really hot, y'all.
Listen, oh my God.
That was a badass motherfucker. Now, have you all seen is it Gabe? Yes. Gabe's interviews since, now that he's, done interviews.
Yes.
Have you seen his interviews talking about Saul? What that moment was actually like?
No.
Wild. He said that it was 10 times more intense than what they edited. Like, he said that it was like 10 minutes of Jeff talking and everyone just like
like staring at Saul and how fucking hot he looked?
It wasn't just how hot he looked. It was his entire demeanor. He came in, he had rings on like every finger. He had fingernails painted. He had this like badass look on his face of like, I'm going to kick your ass. Like he had this look on his face. And they said that they were all just like freaked out. And also he also touched on something that I think is really important, that you don't see, what did we see him wearing? Like they had no idea how he would really look in the wild, And so when they see people in the wild, they're usually pretty shook. And then on top of that, he came in with that war face on. They were like, they were scared. They were scared. And then he said that Jeff was talking and trying to.
I don't think I was scared, but
they were
something.
They were.
I know.
Scared. But
he was given something.
But our edit was like, ooh, okay, but their face was like, oh, holy shit. But Jeff was talking, and they were like, they couldn't focus on what Jeff was saying for like a good 10 minutes, he said.
Honestly, I couldn't either. And I was just watching. I don't remember any conversations that happened during Tribal other than Genevieve was getting really annoyed by the rain in her eyes. And that just was very distracting to me.
And they said
it was a weird Tribal.
Gabe said Saul did not break his gaze the entire Tribal. Which I love this. I love that Saul is using that, like, even though he's out, he's in jury, he is still playing this game. And I like that.
Absolutely.
I respect it.
And you're going to have to, like, earn his vote. And that is
clear. Exactly.
Very, very clear.
Mm-hmm.
Is the jury sequestered together like the way Big Brother is?
Like
or is
Ponderosa?
It hotel rooms?
No, I think they're together. They're all at Ponderosa.
Oh, what's that? Is that like a place?
Like a resort. No, it's where all the crew and everything sleep at and stay at. And
oh, okay. I only know Ponderosa like the family buffet from the 90s. Like I don't even know.
Yeah, no, it's like where they all stay, like the jury house.
Okay.
With the crew and production and everything. Yeah. So in the voting, let's get to the vote. So the vote, everyone was voting Gabe,
but it came down to Genevieve versus Gabe.
Yeah,
right? Going in.
Everyone was, and so the vote shook out to where everyone voted Gabe except for Gabe and Sue. Sue was completely left out of the vote.
Yeah.
Including by Caroline. Caroline didn't even fill her in on the vote. I didn't see any reflection of a reaction from her at all. But if we know Sue, we know this is not going to go over well. They didn't show anything that spoke to that for next seeds for next. But anyway, Gabe went home. Genevieve seemed very floored that she was safe. Either that or that was just her, like, I can't get this rain out of my eye face, because she was struggling the whole tribal council. I don't know. But Gabe's gone. But interesting in the scenes for next week, it says that they said Rachel has something up her sleeve. And then we do see what looks like a new alliance, like a new group forming between Sue, Andy, Teeny, Caroline, and Rachel.
Which leads me to believe
that's bizarre.
Kyle is in trouble next week, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the scenes for next week are always very like over the top misleading.
For sure. But
can you repeat the alliance again?
They're not saying it's a lose. It just seems that they all like kind of do a fist bump thing, and that's Sue, Andy, Teeny, Caroline, and Rachel.
And if that's the case, who would they be targeting other than Genevieve or Kyle?
Exactly.
If that's the case, and if that alliance perseveres, the only people on their hit list is going to be Genevieve and Kyle.
I do not think it's Kyle. I think we're going to have a Kyle-Sue showdown in a few weeks.
I think it's
likely going to either be Andy or Genevieve.
Yeah, we only have really two.
I think it's going to be
unless
Kyle.
Unless the showdown is at the first part one of the finale. Could be.
I have a question here. So Andy essentially somehow found his way on the mostly all women's alliance.
Yeah.
Or like team or something.
Something. Yeah. There's that. But if I am just going with my gut, just from the scene I saw, with what the edit has been and leading up to it, I'm making an off the wall prediction. This is just what I could see happening. I can see Andy's final two fuckery. Okay. Next episode comes down to Genevieve v. Andy. Andy tries to get something going with this group, but Genevieve is able to flip everyone by the stuff that she knows about Andy, trying to make all this groundwork, and will get Andy out next week.
That's fine with me.
I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think she has that pull anymore.
I don't think it's necessarily pull, but I think that if it comes down to someone that's working with Genevieve and wants to keep Genevieve, but it's going to be a Genevieve v. Andy situation, I think Genevieve comes out of it. And I think it's because of Andy's spreading himself too thin going to be the reason?
Yeah, we didn't talk about that.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, Andy having like all the alliances.
Oh yeah, we did.
All the alliances.
We did.
Briefly, yeah.
But
All of
That's
them.
why I was like, geez,
Very.
another
I
one
said
for
Christian.
Andy?
I meant Tyler Crispin. It was a very Tyler Crispin segment.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
yeah.
I agree with you, but I really don't care who goes home next. I just know that it's going to be one of those three people. And also, I do believe that if Kyle is not going home, I really think that Kyle is going to make it 2 more weeks, and then he's going to go home on part 1 of the finale. That's what I think. I think that's where we're going to see the showdown. And I think, because here's the thing. Kyle and Teenie are the only 2 people as of now that I am aware of, and correct me if I've missed something, that have gotten that are still remaining here and have gotten the home flashbacks with the photos and like the whole reel of that. Everyone else, we've gotten background story, but we haven't gotten, maybe we got it from Sue, maybe, but it was like way early on if we did, like when they were doing initial introductions of like who they are. I'm talking like the actual backstory of like, this is who I am and this is why I'm this way. So I just think that if those 3 people, because I'm thinking maybe Sue.
That's a very good point.
I can't remember. If those 3 people are the people that got that, those 3 people are the people that I do believe we will absolutely be seeing stay at least 2 more weeks and make it to part 1. So I could see, I could definitely see a fluke happening and Caroline going. I could see Genevieve for obvious reasons, Sam for obvious reasons, and Andy for obvious reasons. Caroline might carry her way through with Kyle, Teenie, and Sue, just because she's skidding her way by. But the targets have to be Sam, Andy, or Genevieve, just based on the edit. I don't know how else it would be anyone else. Like, Teenie's not even remotely getting any type of edit that would lead us to believe that they would be a target other than just not having anyone to have their back. Caroline, I don't know. We don't really know a whole lot at all. Rachel, it's for the same reasons as I guess maybe Genevieve might go. Rachel might.
That's true.
But I'm really thinking Sam and Andy might be battling it out this week. Potentially Genevieve as well.
We've got the draft pulled up here. Either way, I think, Allie, you're in the clear for next week with Allie only has Teenie remaining left on her draft with 1 jury member, it's Saul. But I think you're good. I think you're good for next week.
I think I'm safe.
I think you're safe.
Knocking on wood here, but I think I'm safe.
Your other partner, Abigail, she has Andy and Sue left. Probably, Abigail with the chaos picks. That's the 2 chaotic ones.
I think either you, Sarah, I think you or Abigail are going to be in trouble. I really do. I think Sammy is going to as well be safe this week.
Okay.
And unless it's Genevieve, then obviously both of you are in trouble. But I'm really looking at Sam and Andy, and then potentially Genevieve, which would obviously piggyback on both of you.
Wow.
But Sammy, Caroline, and Rachel, I don't see it. I just don't see those 2 people being targeted, but we never know.
No. I mean, yeah, it flips. It flips on a dime, and sometimes they try way too hard to surprise us, so they just leave things out. We might not see this.
That's kind of
coming.
what I was thinking too. Like maybe they're giving you so much information about these people because it's going to be like a big deal when they're voted out. Because I do think they did something like that for Andy as well in like the very beginning.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if they showed like childhood pictures or anything, but they did do like a bit of an Andy deep dive, and I don't see him making it to final 3.
So far, Kyle and Teenie are the only ones that I've gotten winner edit from in their confessionals. The just the subtle music that plays when they're speaking in their confessionals.
Pictures. I guess I should have been.
Oh, I see.
I should have been more clear about that. Like
it's more of like a tonal
pictures. Yes. We've seen pictures of like, Sue. I'm pretty sure we saw like pictures of Sue doing her pilot shit. And like, oh, this is what I do.
Yes. Yeah.
But it wasn't like the.
Yes.
Right.
That. And also, like the way, there's just kind of like a tonal thing that you said that, and I've only seen that from Kyle and Teenie. But who knows? Who knows? I have Kyle
and we literally know nothing about Caroline, I feel like. And same with Rachel, to be honest. So those two,
Caroline's
I
a
feel like, are
fucking
easy.
badass.
I think
Rachel
the two of them
too,
are
but
easy.
Caroline's impressing the fuck out of me.
Same. She's one of my like favorite picks, actually. Her and Rachel.
Yeah,
obviously.
She's incredible. So Abigail has Sue and Andy. I have Kyle and Sam. And Sammy has Caroline and Rachel. When we both have Sammy and I both have Genevieve. Look at us.
Yep.
Look at us. Look at us but here's the thing with Genevieve, who was our by default very last pick in the draft, first boot energy all the way, and here she is, and she's in jury.
Yes,
at least at bare minimum.
I respect the game hard too.
Respect it, yeah. Probably my biggest preseason misread. I've been pretty like my reads. If we go back and listen to the draft, I feel like my reads have been, for the most part, spot on to what types of players they would be.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the Genevieve, I don't think I've ever been so wrong in my life. So
to be fair, we didn't really know.
And I love that.
I love her in comparison to the others. So it's definitely a fun cast, though.
I think
the jury is spicy. The jury's looking spicy with Sierra and Saul and Gabe. You put Andy and Sue on there, there's no fucking telling who they would vote for or pick.
Agree.
Well, we know who Sue's not.
Or Graham.
We know who Sue's not picking. I think my reads were decent, even though my draft were out. My reads on the people were decent.
Yeah.
However, when you have somebody like TK go out early unexpectedly, like that was truly unexpected.
Right.
The Saul thing was slightly unexpected. And then I when I picked John Lovett, it was literally a personality pick. I knew that there was two options. Even Abigail agreed. She's like, yeah, there's literally two things. He's either going to the end or he's going out first. And then Rome, I mean, we had to choose between Genevieve and Rome, and it was hard to choose whichever one. But so Teeny,
it's getting interesting.
Teeny was my very first pick. I could not have Teeny. Like,
that's true.
Teeny was
one day I'm gonna meet Teeny and tell them I love them so much. so much. Well, do you guys have anything else? This was one of my favorite episodes. I know I said that last week. I think last week was still leading as my favorite episode. This one, though, is just, the season has been incredible. Absolutely incredible.
It's been great. Really.
So I know that this next week is Thanksgiving, but we are getting an episode. They're not skipping. It's showing one scheduled for the 27th. So
remember when Survivor used to be on Thursdays and then we'd have to watch Survivor on actual Thanksgiving? That was like a whole family event for me.
Yeah, same. Last year I made the whole family watch.
Yeah, my aunt, like there was half of us that watched. I have a pretty big family. So like some of us would watch, some of us wouldn't. And my aunt and I would always be like, my aunt, my mom, and me always were Survivor watchers. And we'd be like, can you guys hurry up? Like, we want you to leave. So like we need the kids to go upstairs. Like, we're watching Survivor. And then they started doing the stupid like memory lane episode. And then we'd turn it, the first time they did it, we would turn it on. Because this is like before social media, you know. They turn it on and we're like, oh, we don't want to watch this. This is just a recap.
So for the last few years, my family, and this has been the best idea my mom has ever had, but it was like 5 or 6 years ago, and I don't have to worry about the aunts I'm talking to listening to this. She didn't want to keep getting into weird positions of inviting family members to Thanksgiving that we just didn't want to be around. So she's like, hey, how about us, meaning her husband, me, my siblings, and our spouses, our families. How about we all just go get a cabin for the week and we just do Thanksgiving out of town. And it's been a yearly tradition. We love it. We get the cabin for the whole week. Now we've tried different cabins. We have one now that's like on 40 acres. And so the kids can just, and the dogs just go nuts. But yeah, so we go for the whole week. Well, the last couple of years, to your point, like with it being on Thursdays, it was on Thursdays before. So Thanksgiving night, that's when I was like, this is the one time a year you'll have to pretend to care what I do. And I would make the whole family sit and watch it with me.
And now we get it on Wednesdays.
Yeah, we get it on Wednesday. So I'm really excited. Are you guys doing anything exciting for Thanksgiving?
Just the family stuff.
Yeah, family stuff. I'm not big on Thanksgiving. I'm not.
That's my favorite holiday.
It's our favorite. We go bigger for Thanksgiving than we do for Christmas.
Yeah.
See, I'm the opposite. I love Christmas. I don't like Thanksgiving. It always just seems like a lot of work.
You have a big family though?
You know.
Oh,
No.
see, but mine and my mom's love language is feeding people. So
Fair.
I think
And-
that when you have a big family, Christmas is exhausting, and that's just
it's so exhausting.
That's
It
fair.
is.
I think if your family is more intimate, and let's say there's like 10 people meeting up for Christmas, it's not exhausting. But when you have 30 to 40 people coming together, and you have multiple trash bags, and people are like having to physically clean up the wrapping paper trash as kids are.
I get it. Okay. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
To see everyone's
That's
present, and we've tried different things like, okay, all the kids, everybody pick one present, everyone open at the same time.
Yes.
And do it. And then it's like, everybody open one present, we watch, and that takes forever. Like it's stressful, and I don't like it.
It's
I
so
like
stressful
Thanksgiving because I can eat. I bring the rolls, so I don't really have to make anything. And then I show up, I brown my rolls, and I go home. I eat, and I go home.
See, we're at the cabin. So my mom will start in the kitchen on Thanksgiving morning and she'll get everything going. I make the turkey. People have their things that they'll take turns in the kitchen making their item. But there's really only, I think there's 10 of us. There's only 10 of us. Right.
We're getting to the point where we might need 2 turkeys. Like we're getting to that point. Well, we already do like a turkey, and then somebody usually brings ham that helps. I don't eat ham, so like I only eat the white meat on the turkey. So like I'm like, let me get in line first so I can get what I want to eat. But
well, that being said, we'll all get to watch Survivor this week, so we will have another episode next week. I'm just not sure when we'll be able to edit and post it, but surely before the following one. So we will record and cover next week's episode. But I do want to wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving, and I'm very, very, very thankful for you guys. Counting my blessings here.
Oh, Sarah.
Whatever.
Sucks.
Okay, so no more mushy gushy stuff.
Happiness. Stop it.
Whatever.
Now I'm gonna go back and dive into the world of Wicked and pretend nothing else exists because I'm still obsessed.
Same.
Oh my God. Mr. Talks says he's going to murder me before the week's over just because the soundtrack's been playing nonstop. Like no other music exists. Yeah. But all of that to say, thank you guys for joining us on today's episode of the Secret Society Superfans. We hope you had fun. If you have any questions or suggestions for the show, we'd love to hear from you. You could just shoot me an email, sarahtalksbigbrother@gmail.com. You know it by now. But until then, stay strategizing, and we'll catch you next time. Love you. Bye.